And now to the Middle East, where tensions are high over reports that Israel is ready to launch an operation against Iran. Multiple sources tell CBS News U.S. officials have been alerted, raising concerns that Tehran could retaliate on certain U.S. sites in neighboring Iraq. The U.S. Embassy in Baghdad is advising American citizens to not travel to the country. And the State Department has ordered non-emergency U.S. government personnel to leave Iraq. President Trump was asked about the situation just last night.
We're hearing reports that U.S. personnel are being moved out of the region within striking distance.
Well, they are being moved out because it could be a dangerous place, and we'll see what happens. But they are being, we've given notice to move out. We'll see what happens.
Is there anything that can be done to dial the temperature down in the region?
They can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to allow that.
All right, so we are joined now by John Hudson, national security reporter for The Washington Post. John, thank you so much for joining us today. What can you tell us about the timing of all of this if Israel does, in fact, take action?
Well, there's a few things to consider when it comes to the timing. One of them is for several weeks now, U.S. intelligence officials have been increasingly concerned that the Israelis may strike Iran without the consent of the United States. And so that has been a steady drumbeat of intelligence reports that have circulated within the United States government, placing an alert warning. And in anticipation of that, the State Department leadership sent out a cable to all embassies that are in the striking distance of Iran saying, you need to come up with a security plan. And you need to report back to Washington what mitigation risks you're going to be taking part in. And those have since gone back to Washington. And starting yesterday, they made the decision that they were going to shrink the presence of the U.S. mission in Iraq, shrink the presence in a few other places for non-essential employees. And for the Pentagon, they decided that all family members of military people are authorized to depart across the Middle East. And another thing to consider about the timing is President Trump has spoken more pessimistically about the nuclear deal with Iran that he's trying to negotiate. So all of those things have come at the same time and have really raised concerns that this is a moment that the Israelis might choose to strike.
Yeah, and so UN monitors, they have said that Iran is not complying with nuclear regulations. So how does this factor into this current situation?
Yeah, well, so it's just the latest information that we have that, ever since President Trump in the first term decided to pull out of the Iran nuclear deal, Iran has continued to develop its nuclear capacity, and it's continued to enrich uranium. Iran was complying with the nuclear deal, according to U.S. intelligence officials, but after Trump pulled out, it started expanding its reach. The Israelis have said that they would strike if Iran was close to developing a nuclear weapon, and they've also said that the U.S. personnel would be potential targets because the United States is the biggest political, financial, and military backer of the state of Israel. So it's really all of these things have come together to put a lot of pressure in the White House. Is it going to greenlight an Israeli strike? Are the Israelis going to go ahead without the United States? And what would that mean for these very delicate negotiations, which are supposed to continue on Sunday?
Yeah, all very important questions there. John Hudson, national security reporter for The Washington Post. Once again, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate your insight. All right, for more on this, we are joined by CBS News Pentagon reporter Eleanor Watson. Ellie, good to see you today. What can you tell us about what sources are saying so far?
Several officials have told CBS that Israel is fully ready to launch a strike on Iranians' nuclear enrichment sites if they decide to. We're told they've been ready for several weeks, but what we've seen in the last few days, as John mentioned, was that the embassy in Baghdad is drawing down some personnel. The Pentagon allowed military families to leave the area voluntarily. Those two signs point to this is getting closer. John raised the point of Israel could go forward without U.S. participation. Officials have told us the U.S. has been weighing whether or not to not directly participate, participate in a joint attack, but whether to provide things like aerial refueling or some intelligence. Unclear right now what the plan is, but as we heard President Trump say last night at the Kennedy Center, they're drawing down some personnel from the region because it could be a dangerous place.
And Ellie, I think it's important to note that this is happening as talks over Iran's nuclear program and negotiating that continues. So I guess what is going to come out of this? Are they still planning to meet to continue those negotiations, or does this put an end to that?
As of right now, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is expected to go to Amman on Sunday to participate in the 6th round of these negotiations. The U.S. wants to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon diplomatically, but President Trump last night, after saying that the Middle East could be a dangerous place, said that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. So the negotiations continue. Whether or not there's an agreement on enrichment still needs to be worked out. But the clock is ticking because you have this threat from Israel being fully ready, if it decides to strike sites in Iran.
Yeah, the clock is definitely ticking. Ellie Watson for us at the Pentagon, thank you so much for your time.